Then, on average, more than 60,000 people are homeless, and more than 20,000 hotel rooms sit empty each night in Los Angeles. The controversial proposal that would lower both of those numbers. Stay with us. Coming up, the proposal that would force every hotel in one of America's largest cities to offer empty rooms to people who are experiencing homelessness. Stay with us. In our national lead, Los Angeles voters will decide on a proposal in 2024 on whether hotels will have to offer any vacant rooms to those people experiencing homelessness. But as CNN's Nick Watt reports, this is becoming a rather contentious debate.
In Los Angeles County, more than 60,000 people are homeless on the average night. And more than 20,000 hotel rooms lie empty on the average night. See where this might be going?
It's insane. It isn't going to solve the problem.
We think this is one part of the solution. By no means do we think this solves the homelessness crisis. But do hotels have a role to play? Of course they do.
So the union he leads, which reps hotel workers, gathered enough signatures and Angelenos will vote on a bill that would force every hotel in town to report vacancies at 2 p.m. every day, then welcome homeless people into those vacant rooms.
Honestly, would you check into a hotel knowing that the chance of your neighbor to the left or right is a homeless individual?
Manoj Patel voluntarily rents some rooms to homeless people who are vetted and paid for by a local church, but he's against this bill that would make that mandatory.
We barely are surviving, number one. Number two, we have to think of the safety of our staff. And number three, we're not professionally or any otherwise equipped with any of the supporting mechanism that the homeless guest would require.
What services would be provided remains unclear. Also unclear the funding, and hotels would be paid fair market rate.
It's up to the city. I mean, they did it during Project Room Key.
The pandemic-era program now winding down that inspired this bill by placing more than 10,000 people in hotels that volunteered. Sean Bigdelli among them.
Well, first of all, it's a blessing. It's a great room. The technology is not up to par, but, what technologies do you have in a tent?
This bill would also force developers to replace housing demolished to make way for new hotels, and hotel permits would be introduced, as well as making every hotel from a Super 8 to the Biltmore accept homeless people as guests.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Why not?
Maybe for some, but there's a lot of people with untreated mental health, and some people do some damage to these poor buildings, man.
This happened in Manoj Patel's motel.
And she marked all walls, curtains she burnt. Thank God there was no fire. Even marked the ceiling.
Opponents of housing the homeless in hotels fear this, and fear tourists could be put off from even coming to LA.
I wouldn't want my kids around people that I'm not sure about. I wouldn't want to be in an elevator with somebody who's clearly having a mental break. The idea that you can intermingle homeless folks with paying normal guests, it just doesn't work out.
We don't want to head backwards into the segregated South, but that's kind of the language that they're talking about. There's a certain class of people, less than humans, animals they almost describe them as, to be honest with you. They don't seem to understand who the unhoused are. We're talking again about seniors, students, working people. That's who the voucher program would benefit the most.
So, about 18 months until this is actually on a ballot, and expect plenty mudslinging between now and then. Some opponents have already told us that they think the union is pushing this bill just as a negotiating tactic for leverage. The union themselves tell us that is false. But the union says they want to hold the hotels accountable and make sure that the hotels play their part in tackling a problem that is, frankly, only getting worse. Jake?
All right, Nick Watt in Los Angeles, thanks so much.